Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. Unreal.
Toss to White. He's in. Patriots win the Super Bowl. Brady has his 5th. What a comeback.
This is All Eyes on the Pats podcast. Welcome to All Eyes on the Pats podcast. I'm your host, Steve Atkinson. Got a full show tonight talking everything New England Patriots from the season to the offseason to what to expect coming in 2022, what to expect in the upcoming draft. But first, I really want to get into recapping the season that was for this Patriots team. And let me tell you, it started, I'm going to go back to last year in the draft when they drafted Mac Jones at 15th overall in the first round. After spending all of that money in the offseason, Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl kind of lit a fire under Belichick and said, okay, we want to win now, it seemed like. And they got some 2 tight ends. They got receivers. They loaded on defense. And they drafted a rookie quarterback who then beat out Cam Newton. He beats out Cam Newton. They start 2-4. Then they go on a 7-game winning streak, and everyone's saying they're the number 1 seed. And the Patriots are the 2001 Patriots, and this is young Tom Brady, Colin Cowherd said. And this, and then they go on the bye after they beat the Bills in a blizzard or whatever the hell that was in Buffalo. And they get their teeth kicked in against Indianapolis. They lose the following week to Buffalo in New England. They then beat the Jaguars, who were 2-14 by 50 points. And then they lose to Miami and they lose to Buffalo in the AFC wildcard game. Let me tell you, the only good to take away from the last month and the wildcard game is Mac Jones. Okay? And I'm going to get more into Mac Jones in a little bit because the narrative since the Patriots have been eliminated has flipped on Mac Jones, and I don't understand why. I don't get it. And I'm going to prove that with some numbers that I will share with you in a few minutes. But first, I want to talk about the defense and how the defense obviously gave up at the end. They got tired. J.C. Jackson's playing for a contract. He's owed $17 million next year, if they franchise him. If not, they could probably try and extend J.C. Jackson, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, and they'll probably end up franchising him, but that's a pretty high franchise tag if you need another cornerback, because you have Jalen Mills, but he's not a number 1 corner. They need a number 1 corner. They need speed, and they need to get younger on defense. Their best players on defense right now are Matt Judon, who came from the Ravens, and he was great in the beginning of the season, right? He got to the quarterback, and then as the season progressed, his rushes stopped. He didn't get to the quarterback as many times as he did earlier in the season, maybe because of an injury or I think he was injured. I mean, I'm not sure if he was injured, but that's like a rumor going around that he could have been injured later part in the season. So, which is the case. I mean, then you had Christian Barmore again, who, was a great pickup, a great draft pick by the Patriots. And so they hit on, so those are your 2 best players on defense. Van Noy's probably gone. Hightower's probably gone. Devin McCourty's gone. Like all those 3 are gone, right? But McCourty and Hightower are your leaders probably on that defensive side of the ball. And there was also some disconnect on who the defensive coordinator was after the bye week. So after that Bills game, Bill Belichick gave reins to Steve Belichick and Gerard Mayo to be the defensive coordinator. They gave it to both. And the players were wondering who to listen to. They didn't know if they should listen to Gerard. They didn't know if they should listen to Steve. Matt Patricia's up in the, wings and overlooking Gillette. Maybe he's holding meetings one week. So every week there was a different person on the defensive side of the ball holding meetings. This was according to Scott Zolak last week and on 98.5 The Sports Hub, and he was saying that that's what happened, and there was just a disconnect because the players were being told different things by 3 different people, and now it was like by the time you get to that Buffalo game and Steve Belichick's calling out the plays, they're getting their teeth kicked in, and they fall flat on their face. So that was a problem. That's a big problem. Okay, so the Patriots don't have a defensive coordinator. Steve Belichick isn't a defensive coordinator. Okay, Judon Mayo played in the league. He's played in the position, and he's played on the Patriots. And those Devin McCourty played with Judon Mayo. He's going to listen to Judon Mayo more than he's going to listen to Steve Belichick because it's Belichick's kid. He's not going to listen to him. So, in my opinion, I think, and Zolak said this last week, that Patricia could come back down and be the defensive coordinator if Judon Mayo leaves for a head coaching position, as he's going to be going to the Raiders tomorrow for interviewing for their head coaching job. So if that's the case, then fine. Matt Patricia was a defensive coordinator here before. He knows the system. He knows what it is, what it takes. And so fine. Do I want him to be a head coach and take over for Bill? No. But could he run a defense and maybe show Steve Belichick, guide him through? Yeah, maybe. Even Bill Belichick could. I mean, Belichick took over the defense after that Cowboys loss, and then gave it back and then it blew up in their face. In my opinion, when you look at the defense, they really need help getting faster this offseason, and they need to get younger, which means they need to hit on their draft picks. They need to hit on their defensive draft picks, either second round, third round, whatever. They're probably going to go defense first round, or maybe not, but on defense specifically, faster, younger, guys that can get to the quarterback, and guys that in cornerbacks, in cornerbacks, they don't have anyone. They really don't. Miles Bryant got torched by Isaiah McKenzie in that Buffalo game here in New England. And they just don't have it. And Jalen Mills isn't, again, number 1 corner. So when you look at it, they need help on defense. And it's more than they need help on offense. So let me go to specifically Mac Jones, okay? When I look at Mac Jones and his ability to throw the ball and his pocket passer awareness, and he isn't Tom Brady, okay? And he watched a lot of Tom Brady film, obviously, right? But he isn't Tom Brady. And he wasn't Tom Brady in December when they were going on that win streak. He made the plays he could to win the game because he's a good quarterback and what he had to work with. He has a tight end that he can trust in Hunter Henry. Okay, maybe not Jonnu Smith, because Jonnu Smith didn't really do much, but Hunter Henry, yeah, and Kendrick Bourne, absolutely. What is Mac Jones missing? Mac Jones is missing a number 1 receiver. He's missing an Edelman type, an Amendola, a Wes Welker, a Troy Brown. That's what he's missing. Jacoby Myers ain't it. He's like a 2. Jacoby Myers he's like a 2, and so is Kendrick Bourne. I mean, Nelson Aguilar is like a 3 or a 4 receiver. He needs a slot guy. He needs a guy to get over the middle. He needs a guy that he can go to that can get open when he needs to. You know what I'm saying? That's what Mac Jones needs. That's what he needs. Not a number 2 or 3 or a 4 wide receiver, because they have that already. Kendrick Bourne is good. Jacoby Myers is going to be a free agent, but he could come back as a 2. If they drafted, like Cincinnati drafted for Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, his college teammate, if they drafted, say, a teammate Mac Jones had in Alabama, a wide receiver that he can throw to, and he's putting up numbers next year, and it's like Jamar Chase with Joe Burrow, I'd take that. I would take that. Because you would have a better team on offense. You would have a number one receiver that Mac Jones knows, who he played with in college, and then you have still Kendrick Bourne. Maybe not Nelson Aguilar, but you got Jacoby Myers, and you have Hunter Henry. Maybe you draft 2 wide receivers that he went to school with. That's what you do. That's what the Bengals did with Jamar Chase. That's what, and we're going to get into that because I want to talk about the swing from yesterday's playoff game between the Bills and the Chiefs. And I want to ask, and when you're listening to this, you can think of it, in your head. Will Mac Jones be Patrick Mahomes after watching yesterday's divisional playoff game? And the answer probably is no, because Patrick Mahomes can throw sidearm. He is the face of the league for the next decade. Even if Tom Brady is still playing, Patrick Mahomes is the face of the NFL for the next decade. The kid can run, the kid can throw, the kid can throw sidearm. He's playing in his 4th conference championship game, his 4th one in a row. So he's legit, okay? Can Mac Jones beat Mahomes? No, he can't. No, because Mahomes is more mobile. Mahomes can throw sidearm, all of that. Can Mac Jones beat Josh Allen, who literally lit up the field yesterday? That was the best game he's ever played. That was better than the AFC wildcard game. That what Josh Allen did yesterday was phenomenal. Can Mac Jones get to Josh Allen? Not physically, but throwing the ball, making those plays? Yes, he can. Okay? Can he beat Joe Burrow the day before doing what he did with the Titans? And let me tell you something, okay? Let me go to this stat. Before Josh Allen got Stephon Diggs, a number 1 receiver, this was Josh Allen's stats. In 2018, Josh Allen, 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 52.8 completion percentage. In 2019, he had 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, with a 58.8 completion percentage. Now, he gets Stephon Diggs, a number 1 receiver. Ready? 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 69.2 completion percentage. 2021, 36 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. His completion percentage is 66.3. Mac Jones this year was 22 TDs, 13 interceptions, and his completion percentage of 67.6. You get Mac Jones, a number 1 receiver. He's going to be better. Okay? Now, I want to compare Joe Burrow's rookie year to Mac Jones. Joe Burrow only played 10 games because he tore his ACL. He didn't play a full season last year. But let's go by before this is going by before the Bengals drafted Jamar Chase in this past year's draft. So, Mac Jones, in his rookie year, had 10 wins. Burrow only had 2 wins as a starter. They both had the same number of losses. Mac Jones' winning percentage as a rookie was better than Joe Burrow's. Mac Jones's was 5.588. Burrow was 0.250. Pass completions, Mac Jones was 352 to 264. Completion percentage, Mac Jones was 67.6. Joe Burrow was 65.3. Passing yards, Mac Jones was 38.01. Joe Burrow was 26.88. Touchdowns, Mac Jones threw 22. Joe Burrow threw 13. Interceptions, Mac Jones threw 13. Joe Burrow threw 5. And yards gained per pass completion, Mac Jones was 10.8 and Joe Burrow was 10.2. So now if we compare this year with a number 1 that Joe Burrow has now, right? So Joe Burrow has a number 1 wide receiver. Mac Jones played in 17 games. Joe Burrow played in 16. They both had 10 wins. Burrow had 6 losses. Mac Jones had 7. winning percentage. Joe Burrow was a .625. Mac Jones was a .588. Mac Jones, pass completions was 352. Burrow was 366. Passing attempts. Mac Jones was 521. Burrow was 520. And completion percentage. Mac Jones was 67.6. Burrow was 70.4. And passing yards, 3,801. And Burrow was 4,611 this year. Touchdown passes, Burrow had 34 with the number one receiver. Mac Jones had 22. And game-winning drives, Joe Burrow has 3. Mac Jones has 1. Yards gained per pass completion, Joe Burrow 12.6, Mac Jones 10.8. And yards gained per games played, Joe Burrow was 288, Mac Jones was 223. So Mac Jones is a lot closer to Joe Burrow, I think, than he is to Josh Allen. Just like I think Joe Burrow's good. Is he closer to Josh Allen? Yes. And Mac Jones is closer to Josh Allen. When Mac Jones is closer to Joe Burrow. Can he be Josh Allen? Yes. But you're not going to see the jump from Mac Jones going all the way to Josh Allen for a while, right? Whereas Joe Burrow had a rookie season for 10 games, came back as the number one receiver, and you saw that jump. The same can be said for Mac Jones. Why is it no one wants to say that? I don't understand why nobody can say around here, around the media, and nationally, that Mac Jones can't be a Burrow. Because he can. Because the numbers are there. He can be. If you just get him one, that's what all you had to do with Joe Burrow. You just had to get him Jamar Chase, and he's throwing the ball all over the field. And he's making plays. He's making plays after the catch. That's what they need. You saw Tyreek Hill. Run Patrick Mahomes through the Tyreek Hill last night and scores a touchdown. Like whatever it was, a minute left or whatever. Like that's what they need. The Edelman, a Welker, an Amendola, a Troy Brown. That is what he needs. That is it. That's what Brady needed. Brady had Troy Brown when he got here. And then he won 3 Super Bowls, and then he had 2 bums, Rashae Caldwell and Jabbar Gaffney. Gets Randy Moss, and then they got Welker, and then they got Edelman, and then now they don't really have that guy. They need that guy. They have the quarterback. Okay? But they don't have that guy that can get open. They have a tight end now. Last year in 2020, they didn't have a tight end. They didn't have anyone, actually. What Belichick did with this team, he went from 7-9 with Cam Newton to 10-7 with a rookie quarterback with a better roster, with better talent, just not enough to beat Buffalo, or not enough. Just it wasn't enough to make it past the wild card round because the defense is old. And they I don't know if they quit. I mean, I did say that in the beginning. They just didn't have it. They just feel like, okay, we're getting outplayed, we're getting outmatched. We don't have it today. We're done. And they didn't want to be there. They didn't want to be there. The only person that wanted to be on that field against Buffalo in that AFC wildcard game was Mac Jones. The other narrative that I cannot stand, and it pisses me off, is the narrative to trade Mac Jones for a Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson type of quarterback, an established quarterback, right? Here's my problem with that, okay? It is a problem for me. The problem I have with that, if you were going to do that, you had the greatest quarterback of all time for 20 years. Okay? Tom Brady was here and won 6 Super Bowls, and then you didn't want to pay him and you kicked him out the door. So you let him go to Tampa to win a Super Bowl, and you got Cam Newton and went 7-9. And then you drafted a rookie quarterback, and then you're going to go backwards and go get Deshaun Watson? No, it's too late. It's too late. It's too late. You can't do that now. You can't. You can't possibly do that. You cannot go back and say, okay, well, we want to go get Russell Wilson, or we want to go get Aaron Rodgers, who can't win in the playoffs. Or no, you had the greatest of all time for 20 years. You could have just kept him. All he wanted was the contract. He just wanted $25 million that Tampa gave him for 2 years. That's all he wanted. And maybe you would have gotten another Super Bowl out of it. Maybe you wouldn't have gotten Mac Jones, but you would have gotten maybe a Davis Mills or another quarterback. That's Kyle Trask or whoever. You still would have gotten another quarterback. Maybe not Jones, because you would be, if you won the Super Bowl, you'd be the last pick, and you might have gotten a quarterback in the second round. So whatever. Fine. But I'm not going backwards now. I'm not trading Mac Jones. I'm not doing it. He's the future of this team. He's going to be here for a while. It's too late now, because you had the guy for 20 effing years, and you let him go, and he won a Super Bowl without you. So that's on you. And you found a solution. You have a guy. Like the narrative, the notion to trade, to go backwards, it just doesn't make sense to me. And it's so annoying. I just wouldn't do it. They're not going to do it because they're not going to pay anyway. But if Brady left, the only except when they won't do this. This is a hypothetical. If Brady leaves Tampa, he's either signing a one-day contract here and retiring a Patriot, or hypothetically, he could come back and play one more year and that'll be it. But that won't happen because Belichick wanted to move on from him, so that will never happen. The only way Brady comes back here is, again, if he's signing that one-day contract and saying, okay, I'm going to retire a Patriot, and which is probably what's going to happen because he's loyal to Mr. Kraft. But this I want to trade. I'm going to trade Mac Jones. Like, it's so stupid. It just doesn't make sense because this kid can grow. We're hanging him out to dry. Like he's proven that he can be an established quarterback in his rookie season. No rookie quarterback has gone to the playoffs and won a Super Bowl. Most rookie quarterbacks aren't really good. Peyton Manning wasn't good. Troy Aikman wasn't good. Like, there were rookie quarterbacks that weren't good. Just Joe Burrow got hurt last year. Like, it takes time, and for people to just want to give up on this kid, it's annoying. Like, it's so annoying. It makes you want to, like, call up the, Felger and Maz or Colin Cowherd, and they're like, would you do this? Would you do that? And I get it, they have a daily talk show to do, but it's like, no, I wouldn't. Because, again, you had the solution for 20 years, and he won 6 Super Bowls with you guys. And then you kick him out the door, and you're going to go backwards. You're so stupid. I can't stand that. It's not going to happen. So that's my take on the Mac Jones getting traded. It is the most stupidest thing I've ever heard. It is not going to happen. He's the franchise. He's the future. And you just have to deal with it. Will they probably draft a quarterback in this draft? Maybe. I don't know. But the Patriots, was this season a success or was it a failure? This is the last thing I'm going to say about this season before I wrap it up in these last 5 minutes. Was this season a success? Yes, it was a success. Why? Because they went 10-7 with a rookie quarterback, and they made the playoffs. And if spending all of that money in free agency last year, all of that money, all of that money, if you didn't make the playoffs this year, it was a fail. You had to make the playoffs this year. You had to. There was no excuse, even with the rookie quarterback. And they did. Mac Jones is the real deal, whether people want to hear it or not. And 2 months ago, he was the young Tom Brady, and this was 2001, and they're going to the Super Bowl, and they're going to play Tampa. Well, that's not going to happen, and he's not Tom Brady. He's not. He watches his film. He can kind of move in the pocket. He can throw a good ball. No one is ever going to be Tom Brady. He's nobody. Just not going to happen. Can he be a Joe Burrow? Yes. Can he elevate to Josh Allen? Yes. But he's closer to Joe Burrow than Josh Allen. Okay? He's a lot closer. Is he better than Justin Herbert? You could argue that because they beat the Chargers this year. They beat Los Angeles this year. I know Mac Jones wasn't really that good in that game, but when I'm hearing on the on Felger and Maz, I'm hearing these are the quarterbacks. They got the Burrows and they have Mahomes and you have Allen, you have Herbert, Justin Herbert, and I'm sorry I can't pronounce his name. They leave out Mac Jones. They specifically because they don't think he's enough. And it's like 2 months ago, he was. Like, he is enough. He's not the effing problem. He's not. So stop making him like he is because he's not the problem. The problem is on the defensive side of the ball, and they need a number one receiver. Last thing I'm going to say for this week, and we'll come back next week. Number one receiver and faster and younger on defense. That's what they have to do. They do that. They make it past the wild card round. They may even get to the divisional or championship round next year because the kid's legit. The kids are the real deal, whether you like it or not. And Bill Belichick almost had Tom Brady in the NFC Championship game and Garoppolo in the NFC Championship game. He would have had it if the defense in Tampa didn't let their Cup go single coverage on the Rams' best receiver, and Matthew Stafford throws it like 40 yards, and they kick the game-winning field goal. Belichick drafted two quarterbacks that could have been in the NFC Championship game. Think about that. Mac Jones is in great hands. So take what you hear with a grain of salt. We'll come back next week on All Eyes on the Pats podcast. I'm your host, Steve Atkinson, and I want to thank you for listening. You can follow me on Twitter at SteveA1127. I write for nutsandboltsports.com. You catch me on there writing all things Patriots. Also, FPC full press coverage for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Have a great night. I'll talk to you next week.